We begin today the Gemara on Daf Lamed Bava Med Beis, where it says Itmar, towards the top of the Yamud. The first word on the line is B'Shvua. Itmar, we learned the following machlokes regarding a shomer that took out, it was Pesheya. Let's see. Pashaba v'yatzas la'agam. A person was negligent with an animal that he was keeping for someone, and it went out to the agam. It went out to a place in a swamp, in a place where it's not guarded there, and it could be attacked by wolves or anything else. And then Umeisa Kedarka. But there, what happened was, it didn't get attacked. Over there, it just died naturally. A neinus. So this seems to be the typical case of Tchilasa B'Pshia. It started off with a negligence, but then in the end it died, it was a neinus. Abai Mishmei de Rabba Oma, Abai in the name of Rabba said that in such a case, Chayiv. You'll be Chayiv for what happened here. Rava Mishmei de Rabba Oma, Rava says in the name of Rabba, Potter. That in such a case, you're going to be Potter. Because in the end, it died with a neinus. So the Gemara explains now the reasoning of this machlokes here. Abai Mishmei de Rabba Amar. Abai said in the name of Rabba Chayev that you'll be Chayev in such a case. And not only that, he added, Kol Daina, Deloidon, Kehai Dina. Any judge that doesn't paskin this way, Lav Dainahu, he's not a good judge, he doesn't know how to paskin. And the reason why he says this is because you may think that this psak over here, that you're going to be Abai is the one that says Chayev. You may think that this psak din of Chayev is dependent on the machlokes of Tchilasa B'Pshia V'Seifa Ba'ines. So he's going to explain, no. It has nothing to do with that. In this case, every dayan must know that it's a pashut over here, that in this case you would be Chayev. And he explains, Loi mi baye, needless to say, Lamanda mat Tchilasa B'Pshia V'Seifa Ba'ines, according to the opinion that says that when a person was negligent with a pekadon that he has, and then in the end, there was an einus. And in such a case, you're chayiv. You'll be responsible for it. So in this case, it's the same thing. Chayiv, over here as well. You allowed the animal to go out, you were pesheya, went out into the agam, and then in the end it died, there was an einus. So you'd be chayiv as well. But elo, afir, lilamandom, potter, even according to the opinion that says that when you were negligent in the beginning, and in the end there was an einus, you're going to be potter, but hacha chayiv. In our case, you're going to be chayiv. Our case is different. Narashi here brings the source of another few blot over here later. The source of where the case of the machlokes of Tchilasa B'Pshia V'Seifa Ba'ines is. What's a typical case of Tchilasa B'Pshia V'Seifa Ba'ines regarding a pekadon? When a person has money and instead of keeping it in a safe place in the bank or in his house in a drawer somewhere, he kept it somewhere in a place where it was exposed. And there was a pshia because it's a place where it's exposed to a fire. It could get burnt there, or some other elements of nature that can ruin it. So it's a pshia. But in the end, what ended up happening, a ganav came and stole it. Now the place where he put it wasn't exposed to a ganav. The geneva that happened is considered to be an einus. We're talking here about a shem echinam. For a shem echinam, geneva is an einus. So he put it in a place where there was a pshia because it could have got burnt there, or a wind could have blown it, whatever, but not a ganav. The geneva though is an einus. That's the case of Tchilasa B'Pshia V'Seifa Ba'ines, where there's a machlokes of Yechayev a Potter. So now the Gemara says that over here though, even the mandama that says that in that case where there was a pshia for a fire, and then the einus happened as a gneva. So over there, you're going to be potter, but hacha chayiv. Over here, when the animal dies, you're going to be chayiv. My time, what's the reason? The amrinom, because over here we say, havle the agma kotla. The bad ear that there is outside over there in this agam, by this swamp, is what killed this animal. What the Gemara is saying over here is, in the regular case of Tchilasa B'Pshia V'Seifa Ba'ines, it's clear that the pshia and the einus are two separate things. There was a pshia that you put it in a place that it could have gotten burnt by a fire, and then there's an einus by the fact that there was a geneva. Two separate things. So over there, in that case, there's a mandoma that says you potter. Over here, though, when there was a pshia, and then when it died later, there is a certain possibility that the fact that it died is the result of your pshia that you let it go out to this agam. So in such a case, we're going to say that it was a result of your pshia that you let it go there, and therefore it's going to be you're going to be chayav for this. So even though usually an animal that dies in an agam, we're not going to say that it was a result of the bad air over there. That's not such a pashut svara to say. But when you're a pesheya and there is a possibility that it died because of the bad air there, then we're going to attribute what happened to the fact that there's bad air over there and it's a result of your pshia, and therefore l'kula alma, you should be chayiv over here. That's what the Abaya says. Rava Mishmei de Rabba Amar. Rava says in the name of Rabba, Potter. No. Over here in this case, everybody agrees that you are pesheya, you allowed this animal to go out into the agam, and then it died there, everybody agrees you potter. And he added also, Kol daina de leidoin, kehai dina, any judge that doesn't pass him this way, lav daina, he's not a judge. And he says the exact point there in the opposite, that everybody would agree that you potter here. Why is that? Needless to say, according to the opinion that says that if you were Pesheya first and in the end there was an Einus, that you potter. So the potter here as well, when the Einus happens, that the animal dies there in the Agam, that you'll be potter. Even the opinion that says that usually, and again, the case is where you were Pesheya for a fire. And the end, what ended up happening is that it got stolen. And in that case, you're going to be chayiv because you started off with a pshia. So therefore, you're chayiv. But hacha potter, in this case, you're going to be potter. My time is because over here, Rav says, we say as follows: Damrinon malach hamaves mali hacha or mali hasam. Here, that this animal died, it makes no difference where it is. It was going to die in the house. It was going to die out in the agam, wherever it is. The fact that it died in the agam has nothing to do with my pshia. So Rashi explains the svara of Rava is when it comes to money, for example, where you put it in a place where it was exposed to a fire, and then what happened is it got stolen. Over there, you're liable for that pshia because the Gemara says that the only safe place to keep money, if you're keeping money for someone, is in the ground. That's where you keep money. But if you went and put it out in a house, in a place where it was exposed to a fire, and then it got stolen, it's your pshia. You shouldn't have put it in such a kind of place. You should put it in the ground. Mashenkin over here, benegay to this, that the behemoth just dies. The behemoth eventually dies. The malach hamavis comes, and the behemoth at a certain point, the behemoth just dies. It's an einus. It doesn't make a difference if it's in the house or it's in the agam. At a certain point, the behemoth dies, and that's what happened here. The behemoth died. It has nothing to do with me. So therefore, Rava says, in such a case, everybody agrees that you're going to be potter. Now the Gemara says like this: there are cases where both Abaye and Rava are going to be moide to each other. Now, moide Abaye will be moide the hadra lebei mara, that he was pesheya. He allowed this animal to go out to the agam, but then the animal came back. The animal came back to the person's house, umesa, and there it died. The potter. So then it's going to be potter, even though there was in the beginning he was a pesheya, but now it came back already. So my time is the hadra. Because whatever pshia there was, and it went out to the agam, but it came back already. So now that it died here, so you're not going to be responsible for this. It's an einus. So in this case, you can't anymore say that we're going to use this possibility that maybe the bad ear that there is there in the agam killed it, because it's back in the house. On the other hand, Rava will be maida to Abaye that you would be chayiv in the following case. Kol hechad ignev Ganev ba'agam, so you were Pesheya, and it went out in the agam, and there it got stolen, and then umeisa kedarke beganev, and then it died naturally in the house of the ganev. The chayiv over there, you are going to be chayiv. My time, why are you going to be chayiv? Because the yishavka malach hamav is bebase the gan v'hava kaime. Even if it didn't die, but it's in the house of the ganev. And how did it get stolen? It got stolen from the fact that you allowed it to go out into the agam, and over there, the ganovim could come and take it. So therefore, the fact that it got stolen is all your pshia. The fact that it died there and the fact that it died ba'aynis, it doesn't matter. But even if it died, where would it be though? If it wouldn't die, that is. Even if it wouldn't die, where would it be? In the house of the Ganav, and therefore you're liable for that. Okay, now the Gemara brings back Abaye tells Rav as follows: L'didach ta'amrit. According to your opinion, you say as follows: Malach hamaves, mali hacha, mali hasam. In such a case where the person was pesheya in the beginning, he allowed it to go out to the agam, but then it died. So it died naturally, so it was going to die in the house, it's going to die in the agam, it doesn't make a difference. So therefore it has nothing to do with you. So now, Gemara here brings back something that we learned yesterday in Omer Aleph. If you remember, we learned yesterday in Omer Aleph, Rabbi Yechanan says about a case of a shomer, shemasar l'shomer. One person, the first shomer gives it over to a second shomer. So Rabbi Yechanan says that you're responsible for this. And you're going to be responsible even for an aynus that happens in the second shomer's possession. Why is that? So there's two explanations for this. And the first explanation the Gemara said before, which was Abaye's explanation, is because the owner says, I didn't give you permission to give it over to a second shomer. Why, if you don't have the rights to do this, I don't want my pekadon to be in the hands of someone else. So if an aynus happens because you, the first shomer, gave it to him, you're going to be responsible for that. Now there was a question that the Gemara asked on this from our Mishnah. So here the Gemara brings this, and this is related over here to the machlokes regarding our case. Let's see. So the Gemara. So hi, the Eisver Rab Aber Bamamal Rabami. Rab Abba Mamamol, before, on Amar Aleph, asked Rab Ami the following question from the Mishnah, Vishani law. What was the question that he asked from our Mishnah? In the Mishnah, the case of our Mishnah was with the Seicher and the Shoyel. You had a Seicher that rented an animal, and then he lent it out to someone else. And what happened? It died by the Shoyel, Kedarke, an Einis. So the Tana in our Mishnah says the Seicher is going to be Pater, because he swears that the Seicher himself saw that it died Kedarka. So the Seicher swears that it just died Kedarka, it's an Einis, so he's Pater. The Shoyel is going to be Chayiv, and therefore the Shoyel has to pay the Seicher, and the Seicher is Pater to pay the original owner. That was the halacha that it said in our Mishnah. So what did the Gemara ask on that? The Gemara asked on that, why should the Seicher be Pater? He wasn't allowed to lend it out to someone else. Who gave him permission to lend it out to someone else? Rabbi Yechanan again says, you're responsible for any oynis that happened. That was the question that he asked. And Vishani lay, and what did Rab Ami answer? You're going to have to say that the Mishnah is talking about a case where the Seicher got permission from the owner to lend it out to this person. But now the Gemara asks, based on what we're learning here, why do we have to give such a kind of answer that he gave Rishus to him? V'lei melei, why wouldn't this Seicher just turn around to the owner and say to him, Malach hamavis, mali hacha, or mali hasam? If it died kedarkai, so then the fact that I was negligent, I didn't have permission to lend it out to someone else, true? Just like our case over here. The person was negligent. He let it go out into the agam. Over here as well, he was negligent. He lent it out to someone else. But what ended up happening after my negligence? It just died. So just like over here, you're saying that wherever it dies, I say that it's not my responsibility because the behemoth eventually is going to die. Say the same thing over here. You lend it out to someone else. Mali hacha, mali hasam. Wherever it is, it's going to end up dying. So therefore, I'm not responsible for this. So therefore, the halach of the Mishnah is simple. The halach of the Mishnah, the Seicher is not responsible even though he was negligent in the beginning. Why don't we use this svara? Amalei, so Rav answers... Huh? No, but by a shoyel though you chayv an einus. Shoyel is responsible even if it just dies for einus as well, right? But the seicher though, even though he was negligent by lending it out to this shoyel, but then when it ends up dying, the svara of Rava is it died. So then that's not your responsibility. It has nothing to do with your pshia. Amalei. So Rava answers that this entire discussion between Rab Abba Bar Mamel and Rab Ami that brought up this Mishnah that you just brought here, according to your reasoning, the way you understood Rabbi Yechanan's opinion. Again, Rabbi Yechanan said, Shema Shemasa L'Shemi Yechayiv even for Einis. So according to your reasoning, the Masnitu that you explained Rabbi Yechanan's opinion that that the reason why the first shomer is responsible for any einus that happens when it's in the possession of the second shomer, that's because the owner says, I don't give you permission that my item, my animal should be in someone else's hands. So there's a question from our Mishnah. How was the Seicher allowed to lend it out to a shoyel? And then you have to give this answer, or Rab Ami gave the answer that no, he got permission. But so again, you can ask from the Mishnah. But lididi, now Rava though says, according to me, the amina that I have said, and this is here before, in the beginning of the Amud, we learned yesterday, Rava gave a different explanation for Rabbi Yechanan's opinion. The amina, what did I say? Ant mehamnesli b'shvua, ve'eich loy mehamnesli b'shvua. The reason why Shem Shemasa L'Shem is going to be chai for any einus is not because the owner comes and says, who gave you the right to give it to someone else? No, not necessarily. The owner doesn't mind if you give it to someone else as long as it's a bardas, it's a person that's responsible. That's not the issue. The issue is when that person comes and says the einus happens, the original owner says, I don't trust him. I don't trust him that the einus happened. I don't trust him that he's not keeping it for himself. So you're going to have to pay me. The first shame is going to have to pay me. If so, says the Gemara, there is no question from this Mishnah of the Seicher and the Shoyel in the first place. Why not? Because what was the case of the Mishnah of the Seicher and the Shoyel? The case is where the Seicher himself, the first guy, the Seicher himself is swearing, I saw that a einus happened. If the whole issue that the owner has, you gave it to someone else and he's swearing that an einus happened and I don't trust him, so therefore you, the first shayma that I trust, you pay me. But the case of the Mishnah was that the Seicher himself saw that it died naturally in the possession of the Shoyel, and the Seicher himself is swearing about this. So in such a case, he's going to be pater. The owner can have no tainus. You trust my shvur, the Seicher himself swore. So therefore he says this whole discussion doesn't begin according to me, according to Rava. Another question the Gemara asks over here on Abai's opinion. Again, what did Abai say? That if you take an animal and you go to a place where you were pisheya first and then it died naturally, so Abai says you're going to be chayiv. So Masav Rami Bachame asks on this. There's a Mishnah that says, this is later in the Masechta here, Hello l'Roshei Tzaikin. You took an animal to the top of a very a mountain that's very what's the word? How did they tie Roshei Tzaikin over there?
Top of a steep,
A what?
Narrow top of a steep mountain.
Okay, and the top of a steep mountain, which is very difficult to walk around there and not to fall. And the nafla, and the animal fell over there. Ein ze oines v'chayev. This is not considered to be an oines. The fact that the animal fell and it died, that's not an oines. You're taking an animal to such a place where it's very steep and it's very very rocky and so on. So chayev going to be chayev for this. Okay, so now the Gemara learns out from what it says in that Mishnah. Ha meisa kedarka. If you were a pisheya, you took an animal to such a kind of steep mountain that's rocky, and then the animal just dies. Not because it fell, it just dies. Hareza oines, then it would be considered an oines, upater, and you will be pater. So here you see that even though in the beginning you were pisheya, but then when the animal dies, you're going to be pater. But now the question is, va'amai, according to Abaye, so why don't we say over here the svara that Abaye said before, that leimele over here as well, we could say to this person, avira dar kotla. You know why it died? It seems like it died naturally, but maybe not. Maybe it died because of the ear in the mountain. That's not good ear for the animal. Yinami uftzuna dar kotla. Or maybe it died because the animal got tired from climbing this steep mountain, and because of that, it got so tired and weakened that it died. So we should blame this person that's a pishaya. Just like the Abai said before, when you take it out to the Agam, that the bad ear, the Havla, that there is in the Agam, we blame him. Because it began with a pshia, we blame him. And says the Gemara, no. The case of here is, Shehela Lemire Shomein V'toiv. He took it up into the mountain. True, it's a steep mountain, but it's a place that has very good fat pasture for the animal to go and eat there. And that's a place where everybody takes their animals to eat. So true, it's a steep mountain, but this is not. There's no level of pshia here in the beginning at all. If there's no level of pshia, then later on when the animal dies naturally, you can't come and now blame him and say, oh, maybe the animal got tired, or maybe it's the ear of the mountain. If there's no pshia, we're not going to resort to such kind of possibilities that maybe it's attributed to what you did. You took it to a place where there's good pasture. The Gemara, but if so, what did the Mishnah itself say? Nafla nami. So when the Mishnah says that the animal fell, so even if it fell from this steep mountain, so he should also be potter. Why? Because there's no pshia here. He took it to a place where there's a mireh sham in the type. So if there's no pshia here, so even if the animal fell, he should also be potter. And says the Gemara, no, when it falls, it is your pshia. True, there's good pasture here, and you could take your animal there, but you have to be careful. You have to support your animal. You have to make sure that it doesn't fall. And over here, if you're not being careful, standing there with your animal, and it fell, then you're going to be chayav for that. Hihachi, says the Gemara, if so, emeresha. What does it say in the beginning of that Mishnah, before this? Over here, we were talking about hela. Hela is the person led his animal. He took it up to this steep mountain. But then before that, the Mishnah there says, also, l'rashet tzaikin. If the animal, you didn't lead it up there. The animal went up there on its own. And v'nafla, and it fell. Hareza ainis. So then this is considered to be a ainis and yapater. But the question is, why, if it went up on its own and then it fell off the steep mountain, why would you be pater? According to the svara that we just said, the person should have support the animal, and you should have been careful with the animal that it shouldn't fall. Answers the Gemara, no. What that case in the Mishnah here means is, like tzriche, there, that halacha is only in the following case. He tried to stop the animal from going up this steep mountain, and he couldn't stop it. The animal ran up to the steep mountain. And then takfasai v'yarda. And then he tried, once the animal was up there, he tried to stop the animal from running down, and then it's going to just fly down and then fall. And he couldn't stop it. The animal was very wild. So over there, in that case, it was just a pure inus. It was out of his control completely, and therefore, in that case, he's going to be potter. Okay, going back to what it said in our Mishnah. Again, the case of our Mishnah was when you have a seicher, and then the seicher goes and lends it out to a shoyel, and the animal dies in the possession of the shoyel. So the Tanakama says the seicher is potter and the shoyel is chayiv, so the seicher ends up gaining from what the shoyel has to pay him, and not to the owner. And on that, Omer Rav Yosi can't say such a thing. How could you say that this seicher now makes money off this cow that belonged to the owner? And therefore he says, you pay the owner, you don't pay the seicher. So Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel halacha Rav Yosi. We paskin in this case like Rav Yosi. Amalei Rav Shmuel by Yehuda Rav Yehuda. Amrit Lam Mishmei de Shmuel, he also told us in the name of Shmuel that Chalak Haya Rav Yasi Af Barishayna. Rav Yasi that argued on the halacha of this Mishnah regarding a Seicher gaining off the shayl that he lent it out to. So he said that in the first Mishnah of this Pedic, Rav Yasi also argued. What was the first Mishnah of this Pedic? In a case where a Shomer decided that he doesn't want to swear to pater himself, but he decided that he's going to pay the owner. And then what happened? The Ganev that stole this Pekadon was found, and now the Ganev has to pay Kefil. Who gets the payment of the Kefil, the Mishnah said? The Shomer that paid already. He gets the payment of the Kefil. So Shmuel said that Rabbi Yasi argued on that as well. Because it comes out that this Shomer is now gaining off the back of the owner, even though the payment of the Kefil should really go to the owner. But in this case, because he paid already, so now the Shomer gets the Kefil. So Rabbi Yasi argued on that as well, and he said, no, the Shomer does not get the Kefil. You pay the Kefil to the Ganev. So his question was, halacha kamaisai, ein halacha kamaisai. Do we paskin like Rabbi Yasi over there as well or not? Amalei. So he told him, Chalakay Rabbi Yasi af barishayna. Rabbi Yasi argued on the first Mishnah as well regarding the payment of the kefil, and v'halacha kamaisai af barishayna. And we paskin like Rabbi Yasi also regarding that din as well, that the kefil goes to the owner, not to the shomer that paid already. It menami. We learned also another Amayra that said this. Amar Rabbi Lazar said, Chalakay Rabbi Yasi af barishayna. Rabbi Yasi argued on the Mishnah also in the first Mishnah of the Pedic regarding the payment of the kefil. V'halacha kamaisai af barishayna. And we paskin like Rabbi Yasi even regarding the first Mishnah that the owner gets the kefil even after the shomer paid up already, but still the payment of the kefil when you find the Ganev goes to the first owner. But Rabbi Yechanan though disagrees. Rabbi Yechanan says, Rabbi Yasi barishayna. Regarding that case where the shomer paid, there Rabbi Yasi agreed that the shomer will get the payment of the kefil. Shekvar shilim. Since he already paid, it's not like he's making money off the back of the owner. Like in the case of the seicher and the shayel, he paid already. So once he paid already, so now it's his. So he gets the payment of the kefil. So here he was made. But the Gemara is medayik here. Shilim in, loy shilim loy. Did Rabbi Yechanan say this, that Rabbi Yasi is made because he already paid? Is it only when he actually paid already the owner that he gets the kefil? But Rabbi Yechanan, as we learned before, Rabbi himself said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan that loy shilim mamish, when it says in the Mishnah that when you pay the owner, then you get the kefil. It's not only when you actually pay. As soon as the shomer says, I'm paying you, then even before he actually paid and you found the Ganev, he's the one that gets the payment of the kefil. So the Gemara corrects it. The Gemara says, Eimeh. So say what Rabbi Yechanan said here is, Maida Haya Rabbi Yasi barishayna. Rabbi Yasi agreed to the din of the first Mishnah. Shekvar Omar Reini Mishalem. Once the shomer says, I'm ready to pay, so then he's kind of through this, he gets the kefil for this. Rabbi Yasi agrees to this. Zog Teilige Mishnah Omar L'shnayim. A person comes and says to two people, Gazalti lechad mikem. I stole money from one of you two. Mana, I stole a mana from one of you two, but ve'eni yedei eizem mikem. I'm not sure which one of you I stole from. Or he comes to two people and he says, Aviv shel echad mikem hifkad li mana. One of your fathers gave me as a pekadon a mana, but ve'eni yedei eizu. I'm not sure which father it was. So he owes one of them a mana, but he doesn't know who it is. Whether by a gzeila or whether because he had a pekadon. So what does he do? Naisan lezem mana or lezem mana. He has to pay both of them. He has to give a mana to each one of them. Shahayde mipi atzma. He came and he admitted himself to this, so therefore he has to pay each one of them. The Gemara is going to explain what it means because he admitted himself, therefore he has to pay. You would think, Adarabah, if he admitted himself, so maybe you should be potted to pay for both. And the Gemara will explain. Another case, and this we had quoted towards the beginning of the Masechta. Shnayim she'efkidu eitzel echad. Two people gave a pekadon money to a person. Zem moneh v'zem asayim. One gave $100 and the other one gave $200. Now, when they come to retrieve their pekadon, this guy claims shalim asayim. The $200 is mine. And v'zeimer, and the other one claims also shalim asayim. The $200 is mine. So who do you give the $200 to? So what you do is nice and lezem mana. You give each one of them $100 because definitely each one of them gave him $100. But v'hashar, the third 100, which you don't know who to give to, that you leave there until the Yohanavi comes. You can't give it to either one of them. The Gemara explained already before in the beginning of the Masechta. You can't say Yachleik over here. They're not Eichsen, and there's a Vadei Ramai. Over here, you leave it until the Yohanavi comes. But on this, Rabbi Yasi argues and says, so if there's a Ramai here, if there's a thief here, A liar that was trying to get $200, even though he only gave 100. What does he have to lose by this? Why wouldn't he take a chance and try to get $200? And if Bezdin will not listen to him, what's going to happen? So then the other guy will lose. The real owner is going to lose it. You're going to put away the money and not give it to him. Hello, rather what we do is Hakol Yehi Monach. Bezin will paskin that you're going to have to put all the money aside until Leo Navi comes, and that's going to motivate the Ramai to come and admit and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, I only gave $100," because he sees that his money that he deserves is being put aside. So the point is here to motivate the Ramai to admit. Similar halacha, v'chein shnei kelim, two people gave 2 vessels for someone to keep for them. Echad yafa mana, one of them was worth 1 mana, echad yafa 1,000 zuz, and another one is worth 1,000 zuz. Zeh me yafa shali, and then when they come to pick up the kelim, this guy says that the better one is mine, v'zeh me yafa shali, and the other one says also, no, the better one is mine. So what do you do? Niceness hakotten leechad, man. So the smaller vessel, you give to one of them, and then the larger one, the better quality one, and then from the smaller vessel, you give the value from the amount of what the cotton is worth, you give to the second person. Rashi actually says that you break it. You take this vessel and you break off a piece that's similar to the value of the other small one. So the Rishonim say that that would only make sense in a case where if you break it, you could still use it for something. But if it's, let's say, a glass, that if you break it, then it's worthless, so then you have to sell it and give the money, the value of the cotton, to the other person. And the rest remains until Leo and Avi comes. And on this, Rabbi Yossi argues and says the same point. Rabbi Yossi says, if this is what you do, what does the Ramai lose out of here? You leave it all until Leo and Avi comes in order to motivate the Ramai to admit to his lie. Okay, so the Gemara begins there with the first halacha of the Mishnah. What was the first halacha of the Mishnah? Regarding Gzeila. A person comes and says, I stole from one of you, but I don't know who I stole from. What does the Mishnah say? You have to pay both of them a money. Says the Gemara, Alma, what I see from the Mishnah is, misfake, in a case where there's a doubt, where you don't know who he stole from, we will make him pay the money to both of these people that he says that he doesn't know who he stole from. And we're not going to say in such a kind of case, leave the money by this person that he since he himself says he doesn't know who he stole from. And the people that he says he doesn't know who he stole from, they also, none of them, they're saying they don't know either. So in such a case, we should say, leave the money where it is. If any of them could bring a proof that he stole from them, then they'll get their money. We don't say that. No, he has to pay to both of them. That's what we see here. But the question is, from what it says in the continuation of the Mishnah, V'ramini, what does it say in the continuation of the Mishnah? Shnayim shefkidu eitzel echad zeh mana v'zeh masayim. 2 people that gave up a kodim, one gave 100 and one gave 200. And then each one comes and claims, I'm the one that gave 200. What did the Mishnah say? Are we going to make him pay to both of them 200? No. He gives one a mana and the other one a mana, which is the amount he definitely owes each one of them. And then Vashar, the third 100, which it's not clear who he owes to, that we leave by him. I mean, he doesn't have to pay it. It stays until the Yohanavi comes. So why shouldn't we say the same thing over here? Regarding this person that says, I don't know who I stole from, why are we making him pay twice to each one of them? Let's just say, Yehei Munach, until Leo and Avi comes, or until they prove that you stole from me. Amalei, or someone take out the Amalei, because you didn't have before in the Gemara a name of anyone that asked this question. Pikadin, Agezel Karamis, you're asking a question from the first case of the Mishnah where it talks about Gzeila, to the case in the Mishnah where it talks about a Pikadin, you can't compare the two. Gezel, the Avadi Surah, in the case of the Gzeila, where the person did an Isser, he says, I stole from one of you, I don't know from who. Over there, Kansur Rabbanan. The Rabbanan gave him a penalty, a knas, that he has to pay each one of them. Pekadin, the Avadi Surah, but regarding the Pekadin, where the person didn't do an Isser, on the contrary, he did a favor. He kept the Pekadin for these 2 people. So now he gets stuck with each one of them claiming that the $200 belongs to them, like Kansur Rabbanan. Here, Chacham did not give him a knas, that he has to pay each one of them the 200 zuz. But the Gemara though says the contradiction here in the Mishnah is not only from the case of Gzeila to Pekadin. If you look in the Mishnah, there's a contradiction in the halacha of Pekadin itself. Rami, Pekadin, not Pekadin. There's a contradiction regarding the halacha when there's a doubt who he owes the money to in a case of a Pekadin. And also, Virami, Gezel, Gezel. And as the Gemara is going to bring from another Mishnah, Masechta Bava Kama, where we'll see that there's a contradiction also regarding the case of Gzeila itself. when you're not sure who it is that you stole from. So first, what's the contradiction regarding the case of Pekadon? In our mission itself, you see this. Pekadon, the contradiction regarding the case where a person is keeping a Pekadon for someone, the Ktani Reisha. What is the second case of the beginning of the Mishnah? Oy aviv shel echad mikem hifkid etzli, where a person comes and says, one of your fathers gave me a money, hifkid etzli money, veni de'ezuhu, and I don't know who it is, noisen lezem money, lezem money. So the Mishnah says, in such a case, you're going to have to pay to both of them a money. I hear this is not a case where you could answer and say, oh, it's a knas for gzeila. This is not a case of gzeila. There's no knas here. This is a case of pekadon. And the Mishnah says you have to pay each one of them a money. So the question is, Viramini, from what the next case in the Mishnah, as we just quoted, it says, Shnaim sheif kidu v'chulu, when each one gave them, and one gave a mana, one gave masayim, what do we do there? We say, we only give a mana to each one of them, and the one that is a doubt, yem monachat shiyav eliyahu. You're not going to make him pay to each one 200 zuz, the Messiah. So here, it's the same contradiction, but this is a contradiction in the din of Pekadon itself. So Rava answers that Reisha, in the Reisha, it's a different case, different kind of case. Why? Reisha, in the Reisha of the Mishnah, what's the case? It's just one person that gave him the Pekadon. And he now comes and says, I don't remember who it is. Was it your father or was it your father? In such a case, it's similar to a case where you have two people that give him money and each one is giving it to him separately in a separate bundle. In such a case, if two people give you money and each one gives it to you separately in a separate bundle, you have the responsibility, just like you have a responsibility to keep it safe, you also have the responsibility to remember who it is that you have to give it back to. That's part of your halacha as a shomer. You're keeping it and then to be able to give it back to the right person. So over here as well, if it's only one person that gave it to you, you should know who that person is. The fact that you're confusing it, maybe it's your father, maybe it's your father, that's your negligence. So therefore you're going to have to pay to both of their father, for both of these people now, because of it might have been his or his father, you're going to have to pay each one of them a money that you got. That's in the case of the Reisha, where there's a negligence here on your part. On the other hand, though, Seife, in the next case of the Mishnah, where one person gave a money and the other person gave Masayim, the case of here is Nasa Kemishi Hifkidule Bekrach Echad. It's as if the case here is that they both gave him the $100 and the $200 all in one bundle or in one wallet. The lehavalele meidak. In such a case where two people are giving you different amounts of money, but it's all in the same wallet, you have to now be particular about whose money is whose, which amount of money belongs to who. If they're giving it to you together, you don't have to be particular about this. And over here, now, the Gemara explains, the case over here, the Mishnah is not that it was mamish in the same wallet, but the case over here is, these two people came together, and they gave him, one gave 100 and one gave 200. So now the Shomer says to these people, I saw, when you came to give me this money to keep, you came together, you gave me together in my hands at the same time, and each one saw what the other is giving, $100, $200. So you're not particular with one another. And so therefore, Ana kapidna, I should have to be particular, and I should have to remember who gave the $100 and who gave the $200. If I see that you two trust each other, and you're not particular that he shouldn't see what I'm giving and he shouldn't see what he's giving, so then if you're not makbid on each other, so I wasn't makbid either. So there's no negligence on the Shem's behalf, and therefore he gives back 100 to him, 100 to him, and the third 100, it's their fault. It's not. There's nothing to do with me. That's been negated to the case of Pekadon. Now the Gemara says also, Virami Gezel la Gezel, I'll ask you a contradiction regarding the halacha in Gezela itself. Again, the case of Gezela, when you don't know who it is that you stole from, do you have to pay each one of them? Or could you just pay one of them? What do you do here? So there's a contradiction in this, because Katani Hacha, what does it say in the first case of our Mishnah? A person says to two people, Gezalti lechet mikem, I stole from one of you, but when days mikem, I don't know from who I stole. And then the next case, father of one of yours gave me a money. I don't know whose father gave me the money. So you're going to have to pay twice to each one of them. Okay, but we're going to focus on the first case of the Gzela, where the Mishnah says he has to pay the Gzela to both of them. The question is, I'll ask you from what it says in the Mishnah in Bava Metzia, Gazal echad michamisha. A person stole from 5 people. And then he days a man gazal. and he doesn't know from which one of these 5 people he stole from. And each one is claiming and saying that I'm the one that you stole from. So what do you do in such a case? You just put down the money of the gzela between them, or mistalik, and you go away. Meaning you don't have to pay to each 5 of them the money that you stole. You just put down the money that you stole, and then they'll figure it out. The Gemara is going to soon say exactly what this means. But the point is, you don't pay for each one of them. That's Rab Tarfon's opinion. So what do you see from here? In the case of a suffix where there's 5 people claiming that you stole from them, you're not going to say pay to each 5. You just pay once. The money stays in the possession of the owner here. This person, the Gazlan, he can't take out money from him, make him pay to each 5 of them. So in our Mishnah, though, it says the opposite. In our Mishnah, it says when a person comes and says, I don't know who I stole from, you have to pay to both of them. Okay, now in that Mishnah there, in Bava Metzia, Rabbi Kiva argues. Rabbi Kiva says, no, you can't put down just the money and then the 5 of them take just this one money. You're going to have to pay each one of them. You're going to have to pay all 5 of them. Rabbi Kiva argues in that. So the Gemara says, you're asking a stira from our Mishnah to what Rab Tarfon paskin there, not like Rabbi Kiva. How do you know that our Mishnah here is Rab Tarfon? So the Gemara answers, because the Ktani Allah Dahi, because over there's a braisa regarding that Mishnah in Bava Metzia where Rab Tarfon said his opinion, that Rab Tarfon will agree to Rabbi Kiva ba'omer. Like our case of a Mishnah, when a person says, L'shnayim, a person says to 2 people, Gazalti lechad mikem, I stole from one of you, v'eni de'ezim mikem, I don't know who I stole from, shenoisen l'zem mana or l'zem mana, that then he's going to have to pay each one of them a mana. So we clearly see that Rab Tarfon agrees in such a case. So what's the difference? Why is he agreeing in such a case? So the Gemara answers and explains like this. Hasam the Katavile. Over there, the case in Bava Metzia is 5 people are schlepping this person to the Bezdin and saying, you stole from us, even though each one claims that he stole from him, and he says he doesn't know who he stole from. So, but over there, each one of them are schlepping him to the Bezdin and saying, pay me, I'm the one that you stole from. So over there, the Mishnah is telling you that what the psak din is, me'ikir din. Rab Tarfon is saying, since he doesn't know he's saying, I don't know who I stole from, in such a case, he doesn't have to pay all 5 of them. Hacha, in our Mishnah, it's a different case. It's not these 2 people are schlepping him to the Bezdin. Hacha, in our case, over here, the case is when a person himself, the Gazlan himself, comes forward. He's saying he wants to do tshuva. And he's saying, I want to be yaitzi yedei shemayim, I want to do full tshuva, and I want to give back the money that I stole, but I don't know who I stole from. That's our case. Now over here, though, when a person wants to be yaitzi yedei shemayim, it's not going to be enough just to put down the money, and then whoever it is going to get it. Over here, he has to pay the money to each one of them. Dekanami, and I'll prove to you that that's the pshat in our Mishnah. Diktani shahayde mipi atzmai. In our Mishnah, then now this is the pshat in the words that the Mishnah said. Over here, shahayde mipi atzmai. He's coming on his own. He's admitting on his own. That means that he's trying to be yaitze completely dei shemayim. Over here, that's why in our Mishnah it says that he has to pay to both of them, which means that it's not mikar adin. And the Bezdin will not force him to pay to each one of them. It's just to be yaitze dei shemayim. If he wants to do fully tshuva, then he has to pay to both of these people. Shmam, you know, that's this lashon of the Mishnah makes it clear that this is the pshat. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to this case. Omamar, what did it say? Omamar Hossam over there in that Mishnah, it said the Katavale, that each 5 of them are demanding from this person, you stole the money from me. Now the question is, V'halo ma'tayin. What is the Gazlan himself saying? What is he responding to these 5 people? The Mishnah doesn't spell out what the Gazlan himself is saying. So Rav Yehuda says, Omar Rav, in the name of Rav, Halosh Shaisik. The Gazlan himself is quiet. He's not saying anything. Rav Masna Omar Rav. Rav Masna said in the name of Rav, no, Halot Siveach. The Gazlan himself is not quiet. The Gazlan himself there is standing and screaming to each one of them, I don't know, not you, not you, not you. The Gazlan is denying the whole thing. It says, I didn't steal from any one of you. So the Gemara explains, Mando Ma'alot Siveach, the opinion that says that the Gazlan is screaming and denying, if the Gazlan was quiet, when each one of them comes and says that you stole from me, and the Gazlan is just totally quiet, doesn't respond, that's shtika kaida. Then you're going to have to pay each one of them. But the other opinion that says that no, the Gazlan is quiet, and still we say that he doesn't have to pay them, over here when this person is quiet, that we don't consider that to be that he's admitting that he owes the money. Because Matzi Amar, a person could say, Matzi Amale, the reason why I was quiet, because I myself wasn't sure. I'm quiet because I don't know. So you're claiming body for sure that I stole from you, but I don't know. Because I don't know, therefore I was quiet. I wasn't quiet because I was being minded to your claim. I was quiet because I don't know. And in such a case, you don't have to pay to each one of them. Now the Gemara explains, what exactly did Rab Tarfon mean when he said that you don't have to pay each one of them? What do? You just put the money there and mistalik, and you go away. So Rab Tarfon said, Maniach Gzeila b'neim or mistalik. Put the money down and then leave. So now the Gemara asks, what does that mean? What happens here? V'shakli lo kulu. So each one of them are going to go and grab from this money. V'azdi, and this person can walk off. You can allow each one of them to go and grab from this money. But how can you do that? And we learned this before here in the previous Perek, Bava Metzia is call safek hinuach. Anytime you have, you find a Metzia. And this Metzia that you found, it could be that the owner intentionally left it there and he's planning on coming back to take it. And this is a Metzia that has no simon. And the owner, it might not even be a lost item. The owner left it there, he wants to come and get it. What's the halacha regarding such a thing? You're not supposed to take it. Because if it has no simon, what happens if you take it? Then the owner will never get it back because he won't be able to give a simon for it. Let the owner come and retrieve his object that he left there for himself. And then v'im natal, though, if you went ahead and took it, then lo yachzer. You can't give it back to someone without a simon because maybe it belongs to someone else. You're just going to have to hold on to it until the right owner comes and gives the simon. So the Gemara says over here, it's the same thing. You have 5 people that are standing and screaming, this money belongs to us, or this item belongs to us. And you don't know who it belongs to. You're not sure who's the right owner. So just like over there it says that you don't know who the right owner is, what do? You have to hold on to it until the right owner proves that it's his. So over here as well, how could it say that you just put out the money there and let either one of them go and grab it and you walk away? How could you do such a thing? So Rav Safra says, he didn't mean you just put down the money there and grab, and they can grab it. What he meant is v'yaniach. You put the money down in the Bezdin. This is, over here we're talking about in a Bezdin. He gives the money to the Bezdin, and the Bezdin will hold the money until Eliyahu Navi comes, or until any of them are going to prove that I'm the one that the money was stolen from. That's what he meant to say. And the Gemara asks on Rabbi Kiva, Abai asks Rav, so as I mentioned before, Rabbi Kiva argues in Abtar from there. Rabbi Kiva says when 5 people say that you stole the money from me, so this person has to pay to each 5 of them. So the Gemara asks on that, Rabbi Kiva, is it true that Rabbi Kiva said, and here, this is the quote of what Rabbi Kiva said there, this is not the way of how a person gets out of an Aveda, that he just puts the money in the Bezdin, like Rab Tarfon said. Rather, it's Achi Yishalem Gzeila L'chol Chad V'chad. He's going to have to pay the Gzeila to each one of the 5 of them. So what do we see from here? What's Rabbi Kiva saying? Alma misfeke mafkinim emayna. So in a case where there's a suffix who you stole from, we take the money out of him and he has to give each one of them. And we're not going to say, let him keep the money in his possession. He's not going to lose since he says, I don't know who I stole from. But I'll ask you from the following Mishnah, and this is in Bava Basra, the Mishnah there says like this. Nafal abayis olav alimai. A house collapsed on a person and his mother. Now, this mother had money, possessions, and now who's the one that's going to inherit this mother? So it depends. There are family members of the mother that could inherit her, and there are family mothers of the son that could end up inheriting this money. Now, it's going to depend who died first over here. Yershia ben Oimrim, the family members of the son, and we're not talking about a son of the son. We're talking over here about, let's say, the brother of the son, other family members of the son. So the Yersher then say, what happened was when the house collapsed, the mother is the one that died first, and then after the mother died, so her son already inherited this money of hers, and now they're the son's family members, they're the ones that inherit this money. But the family members of the mother say, no, that's not what happened. The son is the one that died first, so he didn't inherit anything. And then any of the possessions of the mother goes to them. Who are the ones that inherit the mother if she has no son? There was just one son here. There's no other son. The family members of the mother are the ones that inherit this. Okay, so there's a suffix over here. Who gets this money? So what do we do? Elu ve'elu maidim. So the Mishnah there says that Elu ve'elu, this refers to both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Over there in the Mishnahs before, there's arguments between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel in such kind of cases. And here Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both agree shiach loiku, that in such a case, it's a suffix, who's the real Yiddish? You divide the Yerusha between the Yerusha of the mother and the Yerusha of the family members, the Yerusha of the son. Now, on that Mishnah, Omar Rabbi Akiva said, Maida ani bezu, I maida, and I hold in this case, Shanuchasim b'chaskasam, that you keep the money in their chazaki. You're not going to divide it between the Yershim of the mother and the Yershim of the son. Now, what exactly the chazaki is in that case, the Gemara there explains, okay, it's not negav here for the shakal v'tari of our Gemara. But what do you see there? You see clearly Rabbi Akiva says, when the money is in a doubt, what do? You keep the money in its chazaki. You don't take the money out. Over here, Rabbi Akiva is saying, when there's a suffix who he stole from, what do? He has to pay all 5. Amalei, so the Gemara answers, Hasam, Shema v'Shema. Over there, in that case, it's unknown. It's unknown who it is that's the right Yodesh. The house collapsed on the mother and the son. No one saw exactly what happened. Each one is claiming maybe the mother died first, maybe the son died first. In such a case, Rabbi Akiva says you can't take the money away from the chazakah. But in our case, where there are 5 people that are claiming that you stole the money from me, buddy, Vishema. Over here, each one of them is screaming, buddy, I'm the one you stole from. And this Gazlan is saying, I don't know. In such a case, Rabbi Akiva says you're going to have to pay all 5 of them. Frag the Gemara, but in our Mishnah over here, what was the case of our Mishnah when this person comes and says, I stole from one of you a money, and he doesn't know who he stole from. And the people that he tells them that I stole from one of you also don't know who if he stole from them or not. The Shema, the Shemahu. In our case, the Gazlan is Shema, and the people that he stole from are also a Shema. And what does it say in our Mishnah? The Katani in our Mishnah it says that you have to pay for both of them. And so over here we see that even Rabbi Akiva holds in a case where it's a Shema v'Shema, you still have to pay to both of them. So the Gemara says, how do you know that our Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva? How do you know that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Akiva? So the Gemara says, this is what we brought already before in Amar Aleph, the Ktani Allah Dahi, because we said already before regarding this machlokes of Rabbi Akiva and Rab Tarfon, Maida Rab Tarfon, that Rab Tarfon is Maida in this case of our Mishnah. Regarding this case where a person says, I stole from one of you and they don't know from whom, so Rab Tarfon is Maida that he has to pay both of them. Even though by the case of the 5, he says you don't have to, here he's Maida that you have to pay. Now when it says Rab Tarfon is Maida, Laman Maida, what does it mean? To who is he being made to? Rabbi Akiva bar Plukte. He's being made to Rabbi Akiva that says that in such a case, by 5 you have to pay. In this case, when it's Shema v'Shema, you have to pay. Rabbi Tarf is being made to Rabbi Akiva. So you see that in this case, Rabbi Akiva holds that you have to pay. Now the Gemara clarifies another point. How do you know that in the case of our Mishnah, the case over here is that not only the Gazlan is a Shema, but the people that he stole from are also Shema. They also say, we don't know if he stole from us or not. So the Gemara says, because in our Mishnah, it doesn't say that any of them are demanding money from him. It doesn't say that, none of them are demanding anything. He came to them and said, I stole from one of you and I don't know who I stole from. But they don't know anything. Besides that, it says it clearly in a Braisa. Taught in a Braisa, that each one of them say, we don't know who if you stole from us or not. So the Gemara's question over here is, here you see that Rabbi Akiva holds, even in a case of Shema v'Shema, you take the money out of the Gazlan and he has to pay both of them. So that's a contradiction to what it said in that case where it's a Shema v'Shema. We don't know who the right Yodesh is. And there Rabbi Akiva says that you leave the money in the Chazakah. So the Gemara answers the point we already said before in Amar Aleph. We already said before that over here in this Mishnah, this is not the Ikar Adin. The Ikar Adin, you would keep the money in his possession. Over here, it's just to be Yaitzi Yedei Shemayim. If the person wants to do tshuva, so then he has to pay to both of them. So that's not a question of Rabbi Akiva from that case of Yerusha. Here, it's a different thing. He wants to do tshuva for a Gezela.